Going back to pass now is talking and throws down to the right side. The Coach-Pipe runs it down the sideline for a touchdown.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video, and welcome to the Gridiron. And before we get started, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you. If you could maybe give this video a thumbs up, possibly leave a comment below, maybe even share this video, it would mean so much to me. But at least anyway, just thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you. Well, yesterday, Adam Peters was the third. Wanted to have a second interview for the GM spot for the Giants. Now, apparently, possibly as early as maybe today, could be any minute now, guys. The Giants might announce their new GM. I was a little surprised. Maybe like Joe Ortiz from the Ravens didn't get a second interview. You know, obviously, you don't know why. You're probably never ever going to know why. Monty Ossenfort from the Titans never got a second interview at all. But, you know, I mean, these three guys here seem very, very capable. Now, Adam Peters, he's been 18 years. This year coming up will be his 19th year. In the 2022 season will be his 19th season. But he spent his first 6 years with the Patriots from 2003 to 2008. Got himself a couple Super Bowls in there. All right, so he's one of the ones he's been associated with the Patriots. And then in 2009 he joined the Broncos for 8 seasons. He was with the Broncos from 2009 to 2016. Right, so let's see, Peters and Shane been with 3 organizations. All right, so Peters was with the Patriots, then he went to the Broncos, then he went to the 49ers with 3. All right. Shane started off with Carolina, then he went to Miami when Bill Parcells gave him a call and asked him to start working for him. And then from he was with Miami, and then he went to 2017. He went to Buffalo with McDermott and all. So so he's been with 3 organizations. Then you got Poles has only been with 1. He's been 13 years, but it's just been strictly the Kansas City Chiefs he's been with, right? But so 2009, Peters went to the Broncos, and he was there from 2009 to 2016. 2017, I mean, it almost kind of sounds like a Mike Mayock kind of thing here, you know. John Lynch, you know, great player and all that stuff and everything. He was kind of like in a broadcast booth, and somehow, I don't know, he wound up getting the job as the GM of the 49ers. I mean, I mean, you're on TV. I mean, you know, talking is one thing, but I mean, running an organization and all, you know, is something totally different. I mean, Mike Mayock was always very good at, you know, like when it was draft night, you always had the draft channel on, or you know, watching the draft, and he'd be on there, and every guy on there, he'd have, this guy's 6'2", 234. He's you know, he run a 4.77 in the 10 in the 3-cone drill. His vertical is 32 and a quarter. His arms are 34 and 3/8. So he weighs I mean, he knows like everything about, yeah. But I mean, running a whole organization is something a little different. And it was the same thing with like John Lynch. I mean, you know, the 49ers basically plopped him out of the broadcast booth in 2017. They made him the GM. Well, then what he wound up doing was Lynch kind of, I was reading, he raided like the Broncos staff, and he wound up getting Peters, and he apparently hired him without like an official interview or anything. So I mean, he must have somehow, you know, known about Adam Peters somehow. You know, so I mean, it's pretty impressive. So, you know, you kind of hired him without an official interview, and he made Peters the assistant GM. So, kind of go figure. Now, as I said, Lynch, I mean, he was a Hall of Fame safety, but he had no training like as an NFL executive. And many people in the 49ers organization feel, all right, that Peters is the most indispensable one, all right, in the front office. You know, like Peters is more important than John Lynch. John Lynch is the one that you might see on TV or talking to people and stuff like that and everything. Like, you know, he does a good job, maybe that. But I mean, a lot of people in the 49ers organization kind of feel that Peters is the one maybe behind the curtains, maybe doing a lot of the important business. So Peters is a pretty special guy with the 49ers. A lot of people said that Peters has a strong relationship with the coaching staff. Now, as a GM, you know, you gotta. It's important, you know, to work, you know, obviously with the coaches, because you got to get them the players that they need. But you got to work with the players too. You know, it's very, very important. So I mean, he has a very good, strong relationship with the coaching staff in San Francisco, and apparently a lot of them view him as being very comfortable in the locker room, interacting, you know, with the players. And apparently he's very easy to work with. Now, I mean, there's all different ways of getting things done. I mean, you look at Bill Parcells. Maybe not the most easiest person to work with, but he gets the job done. I mean, Adam Peters is apparently a relative, maybe somewhat easy kind of going guy, easy to work with, and, you know, he gets the job done. So, I mean, he's, you know, he's a marked man. Sooner or later, if the Giants don't get him, sooner or later, Adam Peters is going to be GM of some NFL team. Now, when they went there in 2017, Lynch and Peters with the 49ers, they were, you know, they're going to be rocket scientists. You got to figure, you know, I mean, that, you know, they needed a quarterback. They had Brian Hoyer and C.J. Beathard. Those two guys combined were 1-10. All right. So in 2017, the 49ers traded away a second-round draft pick to get Jimmy G. Not bad. I mean, you got a starting caliber quarterback for a second-round pick. Pretty impressive. Of course, they did have to obviously pay Jimmy G too, you know. But I mean, in 2017, I said they had a nice team, all right, but they're just missing the quarterback. So when Jimmy G was there, he started 5 games for him. That year, he was 5-0, right? I believe he was 2-0 in his time with the Patriots. So he started his career 7-0, which is pretty impressive. You know, I think Ben Roethlisberger was the other quarterback who started their career like 7-0. So I mean, Jimmy G started off pretty good. I mean, you know, so considering, you know, they were 6-10 their first year in 2017. Jimmy G, you know, was huge, being 5-0. Now the thing was, Jimmy G he could be rather fragile. In 2018, you know, they were 4-12. The 49ers, they slept, but Jimmy G in week 3 tore his ACL, and then he was out for the rest of the season. So they just, you know, couldn't overcome that. I mean, their backups in there just were not, you know, Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard and all. I mean, just, yeah. It's like having Mike Glenn and Jake Fromm in there, I guess. You know, so it's, yeah, you're not going to win many football games like that. But to the next season in 2019, Jimmy G was healthy. They had a great team. You know, Robert Saleh was running the defense, had a good defense, and Jimmy G running a nice offense, right? They were 13-3. They went to the Super Bowl. I think they were like 10 minutes short of winning the Super Bowl. I mean, they were ahead. They were doing it, and all of a sudden, Kansas City just turned it on there in the fourth quarter, and there goes the Super Bowl. But I mean, as I said, I mean, they had a very, very nice team. Between 2017, 18, and 19, the drafts, they built up through the draft. You know, they had Jimmy G, they had their quarterback there, and they were 13-3, and they went to the Super Bowl. Now, 2020, once again, Jimmy G being fragile. I think after the first, I think he played like 3 games or so, and he had like a high ankle sprain. And then he wound up missing a couple games, and then he came back, and it was just kind of like, you know, it was just too bad, and he never recuperated fully, and he just apparently was just making things worse. So he played a couple more games. He only played 6 games in the 2020 season, and then they just put him on IR, and pretty much their season was done once again because of Jimmy G being hurt. But so they wound up 6-10. But this year, Jimmy G was healthy for the most part, and they were 10-7, right? So I mean, and they did draft Trey Lance, and they're kind of hoping that Trey Lance will be the quarterback for the future for them. But so when Jimmy G's they could let him go probably maybe when the season's over, they might let him go. Who knows? I mean, Trey Lance wasn't in there a whole heck of a lot this year, but I mean, if Shanahan thinks he can start working his magic with Trey Lance, they might just let Jimmy G go. Now Jimmy G did well in the play. Okay, he managed it well. I mean, he did throw that one interception. That one interception was high, threw it over the wide receiver's head, got picked off, which really opened the door up to the Cowboys coming back. I mean, because it was 23-7. Cowboys marched down, kicked the field goal, make it 23-10. Jimmy G throws an interception, they get a touchdown. Now it's 23-17. Game on. So. But, I mean, Jimmy G did a nice job, but, so we'll have to say they're going to play the Packers this week, so we'll have to wait and see. It could be a very, very good game. But, I mean, the 49ers, for the most part, the 5 years, that Peters and Lynch have been there, they've done a very good job. I mean, they've gone to the playoffs the 2 times. The 3 times they didn't, the first year they were just, the reason why a lot of times you need a new GM and a coach is because you stink. Well, the first year they had no quarterbacks, and they stunk, and they were 4-12. But then they got Jimmy G. So then Jimmy G was with them for like 4 full years. 2 of the years Jimmy G was hurt, they didn't make the playoffs. 2 years Jimmy G was healthy, they did make the playoffs. So, but Adam Peters has done a very good job there, and he's very well respected. And if Giants don't make him a GM, sooner or later, somebody's going to make him a GM. So we'll have to keep our finger, but keep an eye out. It could be any minute now. Any minute we can hear who the Giants GM is now. Who the GMs might be linked to as far as coaches, right? The Giants, they're bringing in Dan Quinn. Now he was probably on one of the GM's short list. And Dan Quinn's not only with the Giants, but he's got like 5 other interviews. So he's a very, very busy man. Now he won't be interviewed till the Giants will buy next week when the GM is in. Now I don't know, whose short list he was on. If the Giants asked, who when they had the Zoom meetings with him last week, the GMs, who's on your short list? Because I mean, the only one that came in was Shane on Tuesday, and then Wednesday they asked for an interview with Dan Quinn. Polls came in on Wednesday, so I mean, I don't know if they were showing them their short list when they came in and talked to him face to face. I don't know, because they asked for an interview for Dan Quinn on Wednesday, and Peters wasn't even in there yet. So I don't know. Maybe the only thing I can think of is maybe they had a little short list of names, and when they were interviewing him the week before, who knows? But I mean, Dan Quinn did a very good job. He was a defense coordinator for the Legion of Boom. Legion of Boom had some phenomenal players, but he was a defensive coordinator there. I mean, he's obviously the head coach of the Falcons. Took them to the Super Bowl. They should have won that one, but whatever. He did a very good job this year with the Dallas Cowboys defense. They did have Micah Parsons, and they did draft their first 6 draft picks this year. 6 out of the top 115 players in the country. The Cowboys they drafted, and they were all defense. So, like I said, with Micah Parsons getting 13 sacks and all that stuff and everything, that helped a heck of a lot. But I mean, Dan Quinn really helped turn that defense around quite a bit. He did a very, very good job this year. Then Brian Flores, right? Now Poles and Flores, all right, kind of have a little something in common that they both went to Boston College. Now, I was kind of reading, I saw a couple conflicting reports. I saw Brian Flores was there till like 2002, at Boston College. Poles came in 2003 and was there from 2003 to 2007. Then I saw another, statement saying that Flores was there until 2003. So 2003 they were both there at Boston College. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean they might have overlapped for 1 year at Boston College, but they both came from Boston College. But Peters and Flores, all right, both spent time in New England, all right, but not at the same time. But they both came from New England, all right. And then Shane and Flores don't have any connection, but apparently, according to the New York Post, they're reporting that the two had some kind of communication with each other in the past couple days. So, kind of interesting. I don't know how they find this stuff out, but. So I mean, so Shane has no connections, whatever, to Flores, but he did pick the phone up or text him or whatever, and they had some kind of communication. So, and apparently, what I was reading also was that the Giants asked to have an interview with Brian Flores. I guess that'll be like maybe next week too, when the Giants get a new GM in. But I mean, if they're going to get Flores, I mean, start moving too, because he's a popular dude too. I'm not exactly sure why the Dolphins let him go. I don't know if you're ever going to find out why. Back-to-back winning seasons. He was 10-6 last year, 2020. They slipped to 9-8 this year. Maybe they went backwards. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was the argument he had with Tua. Who knows? Maybe they started the season 1-7 and the argument he had with Tua. Who knows? But I mean, but Brian Flores is a very, very popular dude, right? Then you had Shane's connections, all right, with the Bills' offensive coordinator, Brian Dable, all right. Then of course, these connections too would also be with Bills' defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, who was a head coach, all right. Leslie Frazier was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings for like 3.5 years. I think the first year he was there, he was only there for like 6 games or something. The second season, I think they had a losing record. The third season, they went to the playoffs and lost in the first round, I think, to the Packers. And then his fourth season, or third full season there, he had a losing record, and he was 5-10-1, and he was out of there. So, I mean, and that was back in 2013, I believe it was his last year. So, I mean, very good defensive coordinator. I mean, very good, But, I mean, some guys are good coordinators. Other guys are good head coaches. Some are both, right? Like Bill Parcells was a good defensive coordinator for the Giants. He was also a good head coach. Some guys can do one. Some guys can do this. Some guys can do both. But, I mean, if Leslie Frazier hasn't been a head coach basically since 2013, I don't know if he ever will wind up being. But Dable, he apparently had interviews with the Dolphins and the Bears, all right? And Ralph Facciano also reports that Dable, apparently, once again, I don't know how these guys know this stuff, but he's reporting that Dable is very high on Shane's list. So, I mean, I don't know if Shane's got, is talking to, maybe Dable might be, one of his top guys. Apparently he was talking with maybe Flores. What I'm reading is Flores wouldn't mind, being the coach here with the Giants, right? And then, as I said, one of those 3 candidates between Poles, Peters, and Shane, one of those 3 apparently had Dan Quinn on their list too. So who knows? But I mean, so those are Shane's kind of connections. Basically, it might be maybe Flores, but I'm saying the other 2 from reading. Anyways, you got Leslie Frazier and Brian Dable. All right. Then you got Poles, his connections. All right. Now, beyond the kind of the small overlapping that Poles had with Flores, at Boston College, I don't even know if they even knew each other or met each other or whatever. He has many people kind of think that the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, was with the Chiefs. I mean, Eric Bieniemy's been with the Chiefs since 2013. He's been the offensive coordinator since 2018. I mean, just learn under the players he's had there, just learning under Andy Reid and the plays and all that and everything. I mean, he's got to have a lot going on up here, boy. I'll tell you, he's got to, have a gold mind. Experience of running offenses and stuff like that. The only thing that kind of just makes you kind of say, what the hell is going on, is really last year he interviewed for 6 jobs. And what I was reading is that over the past 3 years, he's had 14 interviews, no offers. Why? There's got to be a reason why. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's got to be something. I mean, I don't know if you're ever going to find out. Who knows? But I mean, the amount of knowledge he's got to have. I mean, he was a good player in college. He was a nice player in the pros. He's been around for a long time. I mean, I remember watching him in college, you know. But I mean, so, and you know, all the now working under Andy Reid and all that and everything, and 14 interviews and nobody hires you. I mean, and I don't even know if I mean, you know, he's with the Chiefs, you know, now, and they're still in the playoffs, and also I don't know if anybody's asked to interview him or not. But I mean, it kind of makes you wonder if anybody's ever going to hire him if he's at 14 and nobody wants him. I mean, there's got to be a reason why. But so that's what Poles has got pretty much. I also read that somebody, I forgot who it was, said that Poles might have some type of obscure coach in mind. Like, I don't know if that means some coordinator that nobody's thinking about in the pros, or if he has somebody like in college that he's thinking about. But I read an article that somebody, I forgot who it was, I have to apologize, thinks that he might have some obscure coach in mind. I don't know, maybe a coach from the CFL, who the heck knows. But you know, then again, if the Giants don't pick him, it's going to be pretty much useless anyway. But I mean, if the Giants do hire him, it'd be interesting to see who's on his list of coaches that he wants to speak to. And then finally, you got Peters, right? Peters, he has roots with, well, obviously, Dable and Peters. They both spent time, right, in New England together. And Peters and Flores, they have past roots too, right? So Peters and Flores, they got roots. Dable and Peters, they both went to New England together, and some even kind of thinking that maybe Peters somehow might be able to, because Peters spent time, you know, with New England. He said some people think he might be able to try to convince Josh McDaniels to leave New England and kind of come over, you know, come over here and coach the Giants. I don't ever really, that's just what I'm reading. But I don't ever see that wind up happening. Josh McDaniels coming over here. And it was also 1 year, too, okay, because Gerard Mayo is getting a lot of attention, too, the linebacker coach for the Patriots. He's getting a lot of attention. Peters overlapped 1 year with Mayo. Peters was there in New England for 1 year, and when Gerard Mayo got drafted in 2008, they were there for 1 year together. So maybe if Peters winds up getting the GM job for the Giants, maybe he might have Mayo come over and at least maybe interview. I mean, Mayo's only been the linebacker coach for 3 years. That's all he has. All he has, period, NFL coaching experience. 3 years, the linebacking coach of the New England Patriots. So, you know, I don't know, I'll have to wait and see. But, I mean, Mayo's a very good guy. He's very hard worker, very disciplined. He's very loyal. In 2008, when Mayo was getting drafted, he was a top 10 pick. Actually got drafted number 10 from Tennessee. From the Patriots drafted him. When he got drafted, all the top guys usually in the draft, they go to New York. And actually, I was at that draft in 2008 when he got drafted. He wasn't there. He wasn't in the green room or whatever they call it. But I mean, all the top guys, they go there, they get dressed up, nice haircut, and they show their jewelry off, and they really look great, and all the interviews and all that. Well, Mayo, no, he wasn't having none of that. He was at home, taking care of his family. You know what he was doing? He was raking leaves. His family needed him home raking leaves, and his family was more important to him than being on stage, showing his stuff off, so that just goes to show you his where his heart is, I mean, he watches film a lot of times, especially when coaches aren't there. He has an unbelievable workout ethic and all that and everything. So someday, Jerod Mayo, only 3 years of coaching, linebacking coaching is not much, but someday, don't be surprised if Jerod Mayo gets a coaching job in the NFL. And well, as I said, guys, could be any time today. The New York Giants might be making history. Find out who the next GM of the New York Football Giants is. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo!